Okay, hello YouTube, welcome back to another Fantasy Football Scout video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from FPL Family. This is our Game Week 5 points predictor video. Now, it's been a little while since Game Week 4. Feels like Game Week 4 was actually some time ago, and famously, Sam, on these videos, our points predictions aren't going that well, are they? Let's face it. Did Game Week 4, please tell me Game Week 4 went a little better?
No, if anything, Game Week 4 went worse.
Excellent, very good, very good. It has been a very difficult season to predict, so stick with us, guys. There will be some good FPL picks on these videos one day, I guarantee it. Go on then, Game Week 4.
There were some good picks on our wildcard video from last week, so if you haven't watched that, head back and watch that. But let's refresh our brains as to Game Week 4 picks.
Can we just remind ourselves of the scores going into Game Week 4? It was 2-1 to you, wasn't it?
No, it was 3-0 to me. So it was 3-0 to me.
Okay.
Stop trying to cheat.
I need a win desperately.
You desperately need a win.
Go on.
You had the more premium, the over 10% owned players for Game Week 4, and I had the differential under 10% owned players.
We should say that's what we do on these videos, isn't it? If you're new to Lee and Sam Points Predictor, that is what we do. We will pick a defender, a midfielder and a forward for the upcoming game week. From different clubs. One of us can pick the over 10%ers and one of us picks the under 10%ers. So in any given week, it should be the person that picks the over 10%ers, the popular players.
So it should be your week.
So this should be my week. Game Week 4?
Should be. Yep, because you had the overs. Unfortunately, you started...
Don't start with the word unfortunately.
You started with Digne, who in a game where Everton scored a lot of points with Rodriguez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, of course. Digne with just the 1 point return.
Digne owners, stick or twist?
Still stick, I think.
I think stick. Just, but it's getting hard.
I mean, the reality is that nobody's keeping that many clean sheets at the moment. So
Liverpool
stick with
next,
him.
though.
Yeah, lost 7-2 last time out.
Thank you for that. Yes, thank you for that.
Just to remind you. Then you had Traoré as your midfielder of choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, only played 8 minutes in that game, so just the 1 point.
I actually like him for this week, though, against that Leeds team that might push on. I do fancy Traoré, so maybe I just picked him a week early. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And then you had Danny Ings, probably the best pick of the week, who did absolutely nothing and just got you the 2 points. So
was in my FPL team. I switched out Werner for Ings, and I captained him because I just thought, Danny Ings against West Brom. Come on, Danny against West Brom, Danny. Come on.
So grand total of 4 for you in Game Week 4.
It's not going very well, is it? This, to be honest.
Well, mine wasn't much better, apart from one. So I had Willy Bolly for Wolves, who kept a clean sheet and got 2 bonus points. So 8 for him. I'll definitely take that. Given that Maddison didn't make the squad for Leeds, for Leicester in Game Week 4, and Lacazette didn't play a single minute. So
wow, I could have sneaked that if it wasn't for the Wolves.
So had the Wolves clean sheet not stayed, you'd have beaten me. However, Willy Bolly, you legend, I make that 4-0.
Willy Bolly. Saying nothing. I'm saying nothing. 4-0. I need to get in this somehow. I need to get off the mark. I've got a monkey on my back. Game Week 5 is when I'm going to do it, Sam.
With your differentials.
I've got my differentials, but I've got some good differentials here. You've got the over 10% picks. Let's start, as we always do, with the over 10%ers. Now, this guy sneaking over 10 points. You've gone for Mr. Tarek Lamptey, who's had a very, very good start to the season.
I have. Now, is a slight risky pick in that he is flagged because went off in Game Week 4 with a bit of a hamstring injury at half time. But prior to that, and even during that game, was playing exceptionally well actually when he went off at half time, I thought.
I think he's played really well all season.
Yeah, I mean prior to that, even without the clean sheets, he's doing what we all hoped Robinson and Trent would do up at Liverpool, which is if you don't keep a clean sheet, you get an attacking return. He's had 2 assists back to back prior to Game Week 4, so in 2 and 3. So he has looked really good, and I think for me, this game against Crystal Palace will be really interesting because if he plays, which I suspect he's going to, he's super fast, and I think against that Crystal Palace backline, they'll struggle to deal with his speed up and down that way.
Well, interestingly, Mitchell, who, although we love him in FPL, the Crystal Palace defender, he's 4.0, so if you've got him, great value right now, although maybe Patrick Van Aanholt's back soon, so if you're on a wild card, maybe it's time to move him on. Lamptey could absolutely get something against Mitchell. Mitchell has looked great from an FPL perspective, but IRL, in real life, looked a little bit suspect there at the back, I think, for Palace.
And I think the speed of Lamptey will just be too much for him. Okay. So if Lamptey plays, which I think he's going to, I don't think it's a really dodgy injury. And of course, we've had that extra week of break when the internationals have been going on, where Lamptey's been able to recover. So I suspect that he's going to be fine.
Yeah, Brighton as well started the season reasonably well. They haven't really picked up the results that maybe we were expecting, but I am expecting, I'm hoping, and I do expect Brighton to go on and pick up more points and have a good season. Come
really
game week 38, I think they'll be all right, Brighton.
Yeah, they've looked really good as a team all round. Haven't had the results that they maybe should have done or could have done against, I'm thinking particularly about Chelsea and Manchester United, where they were really unlucky not to get something out of those games. So going into games like Crystal Palace, I would expect that Potter and Brighton will be going there with confidence.
Oh, he's looked great, and he Lamptey 10% as well.
Yeah.
Still, I know he's over 10, so therefore he fits into the non-differential, but it's just still pretty differential there. I'm going to follow that up with a 5.2% owned Dallas from Leeds. Now, at the beginning of the season, I was a bit unsure as to whether I want Dallas or Ayling or into the Leeds defence at all. And frankly, I haven't seen too much of. I don't think we've answered that question. Well, yeah, the Premier League defending full stop has been at a premium. I don't think we've been in a position to really answer that Dallas versus Ayling question yet. However, if you do look at some of the underlying stats, and I go back to last year where he had 26 shots on target for Leeds last season, Dallas, which was second in the entire Leeds squad. So he has got the kind of pedigree from the Championship. Now, in game week 3, 2 shots on target, got the clean sheet and some bonus points in game week 3. So just for me, is edging it over Ayling right now. However, Ayling is the captain. I think against the Man City game, in the game, I think that was game week, was that 3 or 4? I think it was game week 4, maybe, Ayling against Man City. Can't remember. You guys in the comments can tell me if you remember this opportunity. He was one-on-one with Ederson. Not many times a fullback is going to get one-on-one with Ederson, and Ederson made a good save. He hit it right at the keeper. I think had Ayling just knocked that in, this conversation would be over, and I think we'd be going Ayling. But I'm just going to side with Stuart Dallas.
I think for me, Dallas is a slightly better FPL pick, simply because he can play in the midfield, and we saw that in game week 3 for Leeds, that he played in midfield, in the centre of midfield, and therefore was slightly more attacking than Ayling was, who stayed in the defensive role. So I think there is slightly more attacking threat from Dallas, and therefore from an FPL point of view, when we all know that clean sheets have been at a premium this year, we're looking for attacking potential. I think he is the better option of the two of them.
He's also coming up against the Wolves side that I think has lost a little bit of their mojo. That I can't reel out any stats that's going to back me up there, other than it's a pure eye test, gut feel thing. I'm watching Wolves, I'm thinking, you've lost a lot of characters in that team. You've lost Johnny Otto to injury. Doherty obviously has gone. Jota has gone now. And you think that front three is going to take a bit of time to gel. They've got undoubted quality with Jimenez and Podence and Traore and Neto, but it's going to take a bit of time to gel. So I do fancy maybe Leeds, who I think have looked very good so far this season, to maybe cause, would you call it an upset against Wolves? I think that we just about would. Let's move to the midfield. The midfielder, who is over 10% owned, is going to be a popular pick, I think, for this week. If you're on a wild card, or even if you're not, Heung-min Son at a very new look Spurs. Wipe that smile off your face, Sam from FPL Family. Give us an unbiased, if you can, view of why you've picked Son in your points prediction.
Well, I basically thought I can't pick Kane again because they'll come on in, you'll just rib me. But I would have gone Kane and Son if I was allowed. But of course, the rules of the price predictor say no doubling up from a team. So therefore, I'm with my man Sonny this week. The reason I'm with Sonny over Kane this week is twofold. One, the lack of international fixtures for Son.
Yeah.
The fact that he's had a 2-week break where Korea haven't been playing football, and therefore he's been sat nicely at the Tottenham Hotspur training ground.
Looking after his hamstring.
Looking after his fitness, playing with a now fully fit, apparently, Gareth Bale, and forming a nice partnership together. And for me, that's ideal as a kind of motivating factor in owning somebody for this game week. I also think that this fixture against West Ham is normally quite high scoring. There's normally goals in this game. We saw it in Mourinho's first game in charge. And I was writing my FF Scout article, which was published on Tuesday this week. If you go back and have a look at it, it's all about Spurs. And the last time that Gareth Bale played Spurs, it was another high scoring game. Played against West Ham. It was another high scoring one. And I think the way that Spurs are setting up at the minute with Højbjerg, allowing Kane to have that freedom up front, it just suits Son absolutely down to the ground. And I think in terms of goals scored, he's going to be right up there. So I'm expecting another big haul from Son.
I agree with you. As Spurs are set up to max Kane dropping a little bit deep, it's going to benefit Son and Bale on that side. But I do think West Ham are going to be difficult to break down. They're going to sit in as they have been doing since game week 2, and they've got some very good results, West Ham.
They have.
Some of their players are right up there for XG. Antonio's right up there for XG.
Oh, I think that's got
despite
goals
the
too.
fixtures. But my feel is they will sit in and they won't allow Son and or Bale, if he plays, to get in behind there. So if I was picking a Spurs player on my wild card right now, thinking ahead to who I'm going to pick, I have actually got Harry Kane right now in my wild card and not Son, but I could easily be swayed towards him.
I think you have both. Is the reality for this game.
I know you think that.
I mean, Son, highest scoring player in the game by 1 from Harry Kane. They're both far and away outperforming what they should be. If you look at their XG and their XA at the moment, they are so clinical with the chances that they are getting. They're just taking every single opportunity that comes their way. And from an FPL point of view, that is what we love, isn't it? They get an opportunity, they score from it, or they return in some way. So, yeah, for me, it's Sonny this week, just on the basis that he's had that international break to rest up and recuperate.
I think last thing on this, I think what's interesting is the fact that Spurs in away games so far this season, they've played against a very high Saints back line and frankly a non-existent back line for Manchester United, and you've exploited those weaknesses in away games. I think in Spurs home games, you're going to have to be a bit more patient. Teams know now that Son's going to get in behind if they play the high line, Bale's going to get in behind. And I think teams are going to sit in and make it harder for you. And West Ham have shown in the last few weeks that they can do that. So I'm not going to put you off Heung-min Son. And actually, if you run a wild card, he's definitely a nice pick. Although I don't fancy him too much against West Ham, the next 3 or 4 fixtures for Spurs do look pretty good. And
that's going to come back to bite you.
They're against teams that you can get in behind. But Son against West Ham, I think the Hammers will make it difficult for you. So I'm hoping anyway, because I could do with some points in this.
Have you picked Gareth Bale as your differential midfielder?
I haven't. But I have picked another newly transferred player. Listen, it's still etched in my memory, that 7-2 defeat at Villa Park.
Picked him, right?
I'm not going to forget it for a long time. But Ross Barkley came in and played in that Villa team like he belonged, like he'd been there for years. And actually, for the first time in a long time, and Villa fans, again, get in the comments, let me know how you feel about the new look Villa attack. Because if you go back to last season, it was like, it's got to be Grealish. If it's not Grealish, it ain't happening. And they brought in Samatta, didn't really work. McGinn chipped in at the beginning of the season, but got injured and he was in that team. So it was like, well, Grealish is the talisman. Give him the ball and he's going to make it happen for us. And they stayed up by the skin of their teeth, let's face it. But now they've got Watkins in there. They've brought Barkley in. And Barkley was kind of, you look at his heat map against Liverpool, very advanced. And actually it was John McGinn that was tending to sit back and letting the other guys go and do their thing and be creative. So I do like the look of Ross Barkley. Obviously got the goal on his debut game week 4. And also if you consider the opposition that he's playing, Leicester City, no Ndidi, I think still for Leicester.
Out, yeah.
Maddison, a doubt. I'm not sure if he's fit or not.
Still
so
flagged.
Those 2 players are absolutely key for Leicester. Ndidi in particular, 7 goals they've conceded in I think the last 3 games now, Leicester. So what does that tell you? That tells you that back four's getting a bit exposed. And actually fancy Barkley without Ndidi there. Barkley and Grealish, fancy Grealish as well, although he's over 10%, I think. Hence I went for Barkley. Do fancy them to find little pockets of space that they can exploit.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I really like this pick. I think Aston Villa are on really, really good form. They have looked so... all right, they have the first couple of game weeks, obviously blanking 1, and then they played opposition who weren't really... They weren't Liverpool in game weeks 2 and 3, but then their performance against Liverpool, for me, it solidified the stuff that we'd seen in the first 2 game weeks, and we kind of put that down to maybe, they were playing Sheffield United and they've been pretty poor so far this season. But actually, no, it does seem that Aston Villa have really turned a corner. They seem to have anyway. They seem to have found some momentum in their team.
Defensively
Grealish,
a bit better as well, right?
Well, the signing of Martinez has made a massive difference to that back line. Yeah. I think having a keeper that you can trust behind you makes you feel more confident in what you're doing. Mings has looked really, really good in front of
as well with him.
Konsa has looked great. So I think that all through the team there's kind of this additional confidence and what's happening with the guys up front and the fact that I think Grealish is one of those characters where if he's happy, it has a positive impact on the rest of the team. And for a lot of last season, he was not a happy bunny. And now, going into these next few fixtures, he's got a proper striker up the top who, if he gives him the ball, he's probably going to score a goal. And he's got Ross Barkley, who is a trained and very, very able Premier League pedigree player alongside him. Okay. So, looks like a really good pick. I'm a bit worried about that one.
All right, okay. So, Barkley, a bit out there, 0.9% ownership, so still like massive differential territory. So Sam, talk me through this one then, because we've just been sitting here saying how good Villa are, defensively looking better, Mings and Konsa, Martinez at the heart of that defence looking good. Why would you pick Jamie Vardy then, who statistically at least, I appreciate he's got a few goals so far this season from the penalty spot, but statistically at least has looked a little bit off, hasn't he, this season?
Yeah, he has. I'm not going to deny that. I would have liked Harry Kane, but I can't have Kane on side. So there was a couple of reasons for going with Jamie Vardy. The first one was the no international break thing. Again, I think that that's important, particularly as Leicester have had a challenging start to the season. They've had some good results, but they haven't played very well. So
What, Man City say hello?
Yes, but even in that game, I would argue that they didn't play as well as they have been in previous seasons. Yeah, but how many opportunities did he actually get? And this is the other reason why I've picked Jamie Vardy, is that of all of the players, he had no shots in game week 1, yet scored 2 goals because he got 2 penalties. So I think this season he's got 5 goals so far, 3 actual goals and 2 penalties. And you kind of find yourself thinking, well, the way that this season is going with additional penalties and all of that kind of stuff, you feel like Vardy is always going to, a bit like Son and Kane, if he's going to get an opportunity, he's going to take it. I think Maddison is key. I'm hanging my hopes on the fact that Maddison
is he going to be fit?
Back. I hope so. I mean, he was back for a little bit, and then obviously in game week 3, missed game week 4, but then we've had international break in which he could kind of recover and be fit. So he's effectively had 3 weeks now off by the time we play game week 5, with just that kind of half an hour that he played in game week 3. So hopefully Maddison will be back, because it does make a big difference to Jamie Vardy, and without Maddison, Vardy, I'm basically picking on the basis that he may get a penalty, which is a little bit risky.
I'm very happy that you've picked Vardy. I can feel a point coming, guys. Finally, Son against that deep line, West Ham defensive line, and now Vardy against a very astute defensively looking Aston Villa. I can feel a point coming, guys.
Well, you need one. It's 4-0.
I do need a point. By the way, clip that, because this time next week, you know how this is going to go. I'm going to go for Neil Maupay, 5.3% owned. I must admit, looking very closely at this guy on my wildcard. There's other forwards that I want. I've already mentioned Kane. I think my strategy is to go Brewster as my third striker and pile into the midfield.
Yeah.
But if that changes and I don't go Brewster and pick another value forward, very, very much got my eyes on Neil Maupay. He's got to play Crystal Palace. Palace are the joint first for penalties conceded so far. So 3 pens conceded. We know what Maupay's like for those. But interestingly, on the ICT index, so for those of you that are following the Influence, Creativity and Threat Index, which you can find on the Premier League's website in the game, Maupay is 4th in the game. Is it amongst forwards? For forwards, guys, sorry. So amongst forwards, he's 4th for all of those things, for influence, creativity and threat. So he's right up there amongst the top performing forwards right now. And yes, he's getting goals, and we've seen that. He's scored a few goals already this season. But the underlying stats, the influence he's having on the game, the creativity as well. We know his threat is always going to be pretty high. Yeah. But he's being reasonably creative as well. And actually, there seems to be a bit more around him this season as well. When you think about how well Solly March and Lamptey are playing down the wings, you look at what Trossard is doing. Trossard being ultra... He's in beast mode at the minute, Trossard. I think he would have been a nice pick for the midfield actually here. But I've gone with Maupay. Fancy Brighton to potentially go to Palace and give them some problems. I spoke before about how I expect Brighton to improve. Maybe not their performances, because the performances have been good.
Yeah. But just get better results, I think, from now on. Yeah, and I think actually, we said before that Brighton had been unlucky in the game against Chelsea and also in the game against Manchester United. And I think had the likes of Trossard and Solly March put away some of the opportunities that they've had over the last couple of weeks, Maupay's points returns would have been greater with assist potential, because as you've already mentioned, for creativity, his stats are really good. In fact, his stats are really good across the board, and we all know that I love a bit of ICT. It's one of the factors that kind of really plays into my thinking, and he's one that's really stood out for me, both in terms of real life. When you watch the game, he really passes the eye test for me. He's in all the right places, he's doing all the right things, as are Brighton generally, but also the underlying stats are there to back him up. I think he's a really, really nice pick against a Crystal Palace side who started the season well, but have just been on a bit of a wobble in the last couple of games and giving away silly penalties and just not kind of having the scope to pick it back up again. Now, has that coincided with the window closing and Zaha not getting a move away? Maybe. Yeah, possibly. But shout out to Brighton, I think more so. Their spine is improved. I think Bissouma's having a good season. Ben White coming at the back.
and that the spine of that team, including Maupay up front, ably assisted by Connolly, actually. I think the two of them are working quite well together. With that additional creativity, it means he's a nice pick.
Yeah, and I think Brighton are going to be really good this season, and Maupay will be at the heart of all the good stuff that's happening there.
All right, well, there we go, guys. I can feel a point coming. It's got to happen, Sam. It's got to happen this week.
Sam's going to get 50 odd points on his own this week.
It's going to happen, isn't it, guys? Hope you're enjoying these videos. Leave a comment below. Leave us a like before you go as well. If you're new to the Fantasy Football Scout channel, leave us a subscribe. Hit that big red subscribe button. And if you've not checked out the Fantasy Football Scout members area yet, get over to the website fantasyfootballscout.co.uk and have a look at the members area. Consider signing up for the season. Loads of good stats in there, and all the stats we pulled out tonight largely come from the members area. So as much as we'd love to say that our brains are data banks of FPL knowledge,
into Ross Barkley's
we're
ICT
so
stats.
tuned in to Maupay's ICT. A lot of that comes from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So get over there, check it out. All right, guys. Till next week, where it will be 4-1. Please, I need the points. Have a good game week 5, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Bye, guys.